we have Kurt Cobain talking about. Talking next. Yeah, we were doing this. Yeah, we got off on a tangent there. Guys, let me know in the comments section on YouTube if you're listening from Spotify or anything. Go on YouTube. Let me know if you guys want us to do a deep dive on this, and I'll definitely do that, and we'll talk about it on the next. It's
going to be
Sunday.
A long podcast.
Yeah, well, I think they cut off Kurt here. But I've seen this video, but I know what the context is. See what they have.
All right.
You charge anywhere between $50 to $75 for tickets.
There are people who charges that much money.
We charge $17.
So what?
Fugazi's playing tonight. They're charging $5. So how does that make you feel?
Weak, exploited.
Yep. See, they go from 5 to 6 to 7 to 8. Pretty soon.
Look at that baby face.
Was inflation?
What with the Ticketmaster charge and.
Posting on his Twitter, M Shadows took on the subject of dynamic pricing, tweeting, "If you think ticket."
Sorry.
They were talking to Nirvana about the ticket costs, and they were saying Madonna charges $50, and Kurt's like, they charge $50 for tickets. That's like outrageous. Like he couldn't believe people were paying that much, and people were charging that much for tickets. Now I got motherfuckers that are Bruce Springsteen tickets going for $5,000 because of their dynamic pricing bullshit.
Yeah, I understand to an extent, like with the inflation. Because the dollar was worth a lot more back then.
Well, I actually have the answer to that real quick. Like the inflation value of what the $17 was then would be $38 today. Wow. So even today, it would be really cheap to get a ticket for their show.
Wow, somebody's saying
this is cool seeing Kurt be like, they're charging $50 for a ticket. That's outrageous, man.
In shock.
And then they realize it. They were disappointing themselves because Fugazi charging $5, and they're like, they love Fugazi. Yeah. Kurt, that's one of the bands he listened to, and they're like, "Oh, that makes us feel weak because we're charging $17. Like it was too much."
That's insane. And back then, that's a lot of money, man. That's like the equivalent, like $200.
Yeah, but that was what 92, and Dave Grohl's like, "Yeah, well, they got the Ticketmaster charge." Like, it was all bullshit.
That is just freaking insane.
Master sets the price of tickets. You're wrong. The artist does. If the supply is 52 stadiums, but the demand is 900, you don't automatically deserve a ticket because you're a fan. Demand exceeded supply. Per dynamic pricing, artists have watched front row tickets go for 10, 20 times face value from scalpers, but see none of the upside. Ask yourself, is that fair? It may suck, but is it fair? Leave it to grandstanding politicians to get involved in something they know nothing about, and leave it to artists to shrug their shoulders and point the blame.
Ooh, what do you guys think about that comment?
I agree with it to an extent, honestly. Like every time we talk about this, I keep thinking the supply and demand thing exists and we can't just pretend that it doesn't.
Yeah.
It's really hard to ignore that. Ethically, it feels shady. It does, but it is how our, sort of our society just works around money and stuff like that.
I can see the point with that, because if what the statement was saying is like scalpers would buy the tickets and sell them for way more, and the band gets nothing. If they can have the same situation, well, it's not even the dynamic pricing is if there's more demand for it, they will jack up the price because people will pay it. And they're saying, well, why shouldn't we get the money? Which, I kind of agree with. But I guess it's up to the band to say, we don't want exclusivity. We don't want only people that are well off to come see us if most of our people listen to us aren't well off. Most people can't afford $4,000 for a ticket, but so what happens when that demand is there, that means there's a limited amount of people that can afford it that are willing to pay it, which it's great for the band, but that means there's a whole lot of people that are just not going to see him.
Well, again, I think M Shadow's response to this is kind of a deflection and off topic, because the real problem that people have is with the extra fees that Ticketmaster's charging.
Yeah.
And that Ticketmaster's taking so much from the artists and fans. It's not what the base price was. And the other problem is that they allow scalpers. They allow people to buy. I think they're working at, you have to verify your email for a lot of stuff. And that you're a fan, but still they allow people to buy tickets in bulk and then resell them.
That's what Kid Rock mentioned. He's like, well, hey, we've bought tickets and then resold them at a higher price. I don't think a lot of people mention it, but that's not the only person I've seen mention that. It's been mentioned other places too, that it's not. So that's where it gets shady. If it's just people want demand and they can charge more, cool. But like you're saying, it's just the fees and bullshit. That it's all going back to one entity.
Yeah.
You know, I think about the bandmade shows that we were just at, right? And I think they were pretty reasonably priced, just in general. They had to go through Live Nation, right? I bought my tickets off Live Nation. It wasn't too bad, but the thing that kind of stuck with me was that on the final day, you know, of the New Jersey show, you could buy those tickets for $17. Back at the $17 mark, right? So that was an available option after the tickets had already been priced much higher for the show, and the show was coming up, and they just wanted to sell as much as they could after the higher tier people were able to afford those. So is that a bad thing? Because that's just like if you're a huge band, those tickets are going to sell out at that higher price, right? But if you're not as huge of a band, then you might not sell all those huge price tickets, and you might have to lower the prices at the end.
It's like a clearance sale.
Yeah. So like, is it an issue just because Bandmade is not the size of Taylor Swift, or would it not be an issue at all for them? You know, because I kind of feel like if they were a high, their ticket prices only dropped, and I love Bandmade. This is not a criticism of them or anything, but if their ticket prices, if they had sold everything at like the $100, $150 mark, I don't think they ever would have dropped any tickets down to $17 just to try to get them off, right? So that to me is just like a smaller example of supply and demand right there, and how you would like handle a situation like that from a smaller band standpoint.
That's interesting.
I mean, it's different. I feel like when it's lowering the price, you know.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
yeah, but I'm saying if they were going to sell them at $17, it could have been $17 the whole time, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, if that venue would have been there from the start, I don't think they would have had that problem. But they had already they already had surrounding venues that were damn near sold out, and then they opened up the biggest venue. So I understand your point, though. Like, if they would have started out with that price, would they've sold them? I don't know. You know, well, maybe. But most people that were going to go to that show were already going to 2 other concerts that were
balancing act
area.
Like maybe the $17 was their break even.
Could be.
Like they got to make something, because everyone's got to make a living to have time to make music, you know.
I guess I'm just thinking, where do you draw the line, right? Because if that was a huge band doing the same thing, and all of their tickets were higher priced in the beginning and then they lowered them, would we feel a similar way? Or is it just because they're a smaller band that we give them more leniency in the area of they could have sold the tickets at $17, but they sold the tickets at $150?
Ikoto brought up a complaint. I forgot about this. He said, yes, champ, because Live Nation and their own bots caused the tickets to drop prices and left the venues partially empty since it didn't get available until the last minute.
You're saying the bots did that? That was not a choice. There was no manual choice to lower the ticket prices.
Dynamic pricing controlled.
Yeah.
So it lowered it because there wasn't a demand.
Autonomously by Ticketmaster.
I guess I don't know. He comes down to the band.
They have to have
Bruce Springsteen. He wants to get as much money as he can for doing what he does. So fuck yeah, give me $5,000 tickets. But if you're a band that wants to get as many people as you can to see your shows, you limit what it can be. I don't know. But if I don't know, man, who knows? Because I'm not a part of a fucking band that's touring. If your label's like, no, we're going to do this pricing because we can get more fucking money, you know, you're going to be arguing with the people that are, you know, kind of helping you have your career. Like, no, fuck that. I want these people to be able to go. And so you're fighting for less money. It becomes a conflict, man.
I mean, they could do the ops. What did Kid Rock say? That he actually bought tickets and then sold them at a higher price at some point, right? Like,
he had to take a pay cut to keep the prices even.
He said in the past he was guilty of doing that.
He took a pay cut.
So you could technically, if you're a band, you could technically buy a bulk amount of tickets. Like if you think, and you could sell them for lower, you could sell them for less if you really want to. If you can do the math and say, I'm still going to make money off these people. Kid Rock could go out there, buy 1,000 tickets to his show and sell them for half the price if he knows that he's already making more off of the Live Nation stuff that's going on, because they're pricing the rest of it higher.
Yeah. And so balancing that, guys, it's like this just goes back to the theme of this podcast. It's just all about keeping everything balanced. And right now what's happening is going out of balance. Like it's going way too far to the corporate side where it's just fucking over everyone, and now it's coming to a head, and it's very apparent. And it started back in the 90s, and now it's just gotten ridiculous.
Yeah, that's the crazy part, is those huge bands were calling it out right from the start.
Yeah,
and it's still been allowed to be what it is now.
Yeah.
I just guess people didn't care back then. I don't know.
It's a shame. It's just it's been
Make
monopolized.
the fucking rules, then rich people are going to benefit.
Yeah, and it's always going to be like that. Like, and it'll keep happening like that, and not just in the music industry.
If you are enjoying these clips from our full podcast, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on all those notifications so you don't miss out when we go live on Sunday, which is always the same time at 9 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And if you can't catch it there, we're also on Spotify and future streaming platforms in the future, because that's where the future takes place. I don't know. Just hit subscribe, guys.